Yeah, go ahead, D, get us going.
Negative K, nothing further, just see the canopy on the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. Today is Thursday, April 3rd, 2025. We are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. I'm here with a few of my friends. Some of us are way out of town and going through bereavement, but we're here. I'm here with D. I'm here with Derek. I'm here with JT. I'm here with Dave. I'm here with Rich, Will, Jerry, Mark Matthews, and Jim is joining us even as we speak. Let me say thank you for joining us, those on Facebook Live. We appreciate you each and every Thursday for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Let me just say this one other thing before I get into the disclaimer. I'm gonna have Rich do our disclaimer. No, I'll do our disclaimer, and Rich will do our statement of purpose. We're doing it in that order. But listen, we have a YouTube channel. Roll Call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. I'm asking first of all the panelists to go to YouTube, subscribe to Roll Call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations, share it with your friends and family. Then I'm asking those who are on our Facebook Live for you to go to YouTube and look up Roll Call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations, subscribe, and share with your family and friends. If we all do that, we'll be blown up before we even know it. So let us do that. Let us keep moving. Let us keep sharing. We was actually told this a while ago by D, and I forgot. I did subscribe, but I forgot to share and do what I need to do. So D, I'm ready to share it all over the place now, and thank you for reminding us for that. Let's first have our moment of silence. Thank you so much, D. I don't care how many times you hear that, that always just moves you to a certain position. And thank you so much for putting that together for us, D. And just know for those who are listening to us, listen, we love police work. That'll come in our statement of purpose. But we love police work. We love the work that we did for so many years, and we're still praying for our police officers and our loved ones. Let us start with our disclaimer. We are Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. Please note the comments and express concerns made by members of Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations here in Roll Call Panel are the opinions of the individual and not offered or intended to be legal advice, recommendations, or suggestions for listeners and/or our observers. The panel may display graphic photographs and graphic videos that are integral to spark our discussion. These videos or photographs are not intended to offend any viewer or listener. A panel will give notice to the audience as to the nature prior to displaying any graphic or sensitive video or photograph. Any graphic content displayed during the panel discussion has been obtained and shared from public social media platforms and is not the property of Roll Call. The language used by some members of Roll Call and our guests is spontaneous, it's uncensored, and is not intended to offend our audience in any kind of way. Some of us are very passionate in how we feel and how we express certain things. I myself been accused of yelling when I only speak loud when I get excited. So I'm not yelling, I'm just louder. So thank you for that. At this time, I'm gonna have Rich give us our statement of purpose.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. We're Roll Call Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. We are a pro-law enforcement group. We're for equitable policing. We're against racism, and we believe Black Lives Matter. Thank you for being here with us. We're glad you're here. If you have any questions, come up on the chat, and we'll try to address them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rich. We're gonna have we're praying for JT and his wife Orlando. We're glad to see JT is back with us. JT had a medical issue, but he's with us now. We thank God for that. Praying for Cheech and Anna, and even for the event they're involved with today, which I'm not gonna put on the air, but we're praying for them as well, even for today. For AC and his wife Jeanette as well. We're praying for the names that CJ put on there for us. Y'all have to excuse me because I don't go but so far in the chat. But I did see some stuff, but we're praying for them. And then we'll be ready for our show. Listen, today, Derek is going to lead us in our conversation. So please be guided by Derek in this conversation. When time is up, the time is up. And Derek, it's up to you whether you want to let it slide or let it ride. It's up to you. You got it. It's in your hands. We do have a list of things. I don't know if you I think you do have it, Derek, but it's in your hands now, and I'll monitor the online.
All right, and I just want to say it's always sad to watch the beginning where you see the officers that have lost their lives serving their communities or serving the communities in which they work. Always a sad deal. So sorrows and condolences to them and their families. And welcome aboard, Kyle. And I believe Mr. D has something for us. Mr. D, what do you have for us?
Let's hit this first one. We're going to go to Oregon. This was the ending of a police chase. There was a civil trial that followed, and we'll talk about the results when we get done.
On the afternoon of August 3rd, 2012, in the quiet town of Veneta, Oregon, Justin Wilkins was traveling at high speeds on his Aprilia sport motorcycle. Unbeknownst to him, he had just passed an unmarked police vehicle, a black Chevrolet Camaro driven by Oregon State Police Officer Rob Edwards. This encounter would soon escalate into a high-stakes legal battle that raised serious questions about police conduct, use of force, and accountability. Dashcam footage from Officer Edwards' vehicle captures Wilkins' motorcycle as it speeds down Crow Road, overtaking several vehicles, including two across double yellow, no passing lines. However, what is most notable is the police vehicle itself. Unlike a traditional marked patrol car, Edwards' black Camaro bore no distinguishable police markings. While it was equipped with flashing red and blue lights, it did not have an audible siren activated. According to Edwards, Wilkins was attempting to evade police. However, Wilkins later testified that he was unaware he was being pursued. Having never encountered a black Camaro as a police vehicle, he stated that he had no reason to believe that the car following him was a law enforcement officer. For several minutes, the chase continued. Then, as Wilkins reached an intersection, he began slowing down, presumably realizing for the first time that he was being pulled over. But before he could fully stop, what happened next was unexpected, violent, and according to a jury, completely unjustified. At the moment Wilkins appears to comply, Edwards' vehicle makes direct contact with the motorcycle, knocking Wilkins off his bike and sending him crashing onto the pavement. Edwards later testified that the collision was unintentional, attributing it to brake fade, a condition in which overworked brake components temporarily lose effectiveness. However, Wilkins' attorney disputed this claim, arguing that at such a low speed, Edwards could have stopped before impact if he had chosen to do so. The jury later agreed. But what followed after the crash was perhaps even more disturbing. As Wilkins struggled to get back on his feet, Officer Edwards exited his vehicle with his pistol drawn. Before Wilkins could regain his balance, Edwards forcefully kicked him in the chest, sending him back to the ground. This moment, captured on the police dashcam, became a focal point of the legal case that would follow. Wilkins suffered a fractured clavicle and a broken rib. After being handcuffed and taken into custody, he later filed a lawsuit alleging excessive force. And in 2016, a jury ruled in his favor. After reviewing dashcam footage and testimony from both sides, a jury found that Officer Edwards had used excessive force and awarded Wilkins $180,000 in damages, broken down as follows: $31,000 for medical expenses and motorcycle repairs, $100,000 for pain and suffering, $50,000 in punitive damages, which Edwards himself would be required to pay. Despite this ruling, Officer Edwards faced no criminal charges or suspension. In fact, since the incident, he has been promoted to the rank of captain within the Oregon State Police. Following the trial, the Oregon State Police released an official statement expressing disappointment with the jury's decision. They asserted that their officers had not violated any established protocols and defended their actions, stating that officers in high-pressure situations often have mere milliseconds to make decisions. Their statement also suggested that law enforcement officers should be protected from civil liability in cases such as this. However, one key moment in the trial seemed to undermine the police department's position. Officer Edwards himself admitted that Wilkins had already begun complying when he delivered the forceful kick to his chest. Wilkins' case is notable not only for its legal outcome, but for the broader questions it raises regarding police accountability. On one hand, Wilkins acknowledged that he was speeding and passing illegally. However, he maintained that he was not aware he was being pursued and that once he realized, he began to comply. Edwards, on the other hand, defended his actions, stating that he believed Wilkins was attempting to evade him, and that his actions, including the kick, were in line with police training. Ultimately, a jury determined that Edwards' use of force was excessive. But despite the verdict, his career was unaffected, and he even advanced in rank. The case of Justin Wilkins versus Rob Edwards highlights a critical issue in modern law enforcement. Where do we draw the line between necessary force and excessive aggression? In this case, the legal system sided with Wilkins. But for many, the fact that Edwards remained in law enforcement, received a promotion, and faced no criminal charges is a stark reminder that even when officers are found guilty of misconduct, consequences can be minimal. Whether this
All right, everyone. So that was an interesting stop and a little personal for me because I'm a former motorcycle rider. But Up first, we have comments from Rich, and then from Jim, and then from D. Rich?
Rich.
Jim was first.
Oh, Jim, I'm sorry. Here you go. Gotcha. Jim?
Okay. This is why we exist. We exist because a situation like this is, which is as obvious as could be. There was no discipline to that officer. I mean, forget about that he got promoted and all that down the line, but there was no discipline for this action. For a department to go on record to say that that kick in the chest was not a violation of any department rule, that it was, I mean, kind of, they actually are saying that that's all part and parcel of everything that they teach, is either a lie or it's a department that really needs to be investigated by the feds after Trump is out of office and we got federal investigations back again. But there's something wrong there. I mean, it's an obvious case. I'm not a motorcycle guy, so I don't know. But it seemed to me like if I were a juror, the argument that he had, it was a Camaro following him with no siren, even though it may have had lights in the grill, I guess. I'm not sure how that would work, but that's what I would assume, that a motorcyclist may not, and especially a speeding motorcyclist that's zipping around like this guy was, may not realize until after a while that he's being followed by the police. So I thought as a juror that sounded like something that is possible. But after the stop, and a cop is agreeing that the guy is now complying, and then kicks him in the chest. I mean, and no discipline. It's just outrageous, and it's the reason why I believe that we even formed our group to discuss these kinds of things.
All right. Well said, Jim. Well said. And next up, we will have Rich.
Yeah, I totally agree with Jim. This thing of brake fade sounds like BS to me. And because it wasn't like he was hitting his brakes, he was just full out driving. So it wasn't like there was fatigue on the brakes because he kept stopping. So I don't know about that brake fade. He should have stopped reasonably, especially coming towards the light. But it's kind of bogus. I know, just like when we engage in chases, foot chase, whatever chases vehicle, there's a mindset with certain officers that, hey, I have my lights on, should have your siren. This person's not stopping, so I'm driving fast and I'm trying to catch them. And then once they get there, it's like this catch-up game that they kind of play. Some officers have done that. I'm not defending his actions because his actions were excessive. Okay, but I know the mindset that some officers have when they're chasing someone's not adhering to their lights and siren, they're not pulling over, and they're still going, and the chase pursues. And then once they finally get him, it's almost like I got you. It's like a catch-up thing. But yeah, that was uncalled for. He deserved to win that lawsuit, my book. I don't understand how you can have a vehicle patrolling and no siren. Oregon doesn't have a law that requires the lights and siren. Does anybody know?
Oh, it seemed unusual to me as well. No.
Yeah, I mean, you got an unmarked vehicle with just lights in the front of your vehicle, and you're expecting somebody to see that, especially the motorcycle going at high speed and zipping. He's not looking in his rearview mirror. He's looking ahead, and so I don't know. That whole thing seems foul to me, and I think he should have been fired. But I think if it was me, I'd have been fired. You know what I mean? That's all I have.
All right, and I think he should have been fired. D.
All right, let me say really quick. In the chat, so I'll see. I don't know if you want to do that, Don, but I'll take care of it. Donald Coleman's here. How you doing? Welcome. Sylvia Butler's here.
You overcooking my grits, coach.
Melissa Sutherland Moss. Eva. I just had to do that. I'm sorry. Richard Bowden, Renee Henderson, and they got some comments. Before I read those comments, let me say this, because I know Don is a motorcycle rider. I just found out. So is Derek's a motorcycle rider. So am I. And That gives you a little different perspective, because I'm sure all of us that are motorcycle riders have been stopped by law enforcement. Just by the nature of what you're doing, it's not that you're necessarily doing something right or wrong, but it's just the nature of motorcycle riding to, how do I say, come in conflict with the law sometimes. It's just you're on two wheels, and some things on two wheels you got to just do differently than people on four wheels. And I'm saying that to say I've also driven a Camaro and a Mustang, and I've always driven unmarked vehicles up until almost I retired, unmarked vehicle. And not saying anything about any other agency, but we're taught that you got to understand that person doesn't understand that's a police vehicle. I don't care how many blue lights you have, how many red lights. There is a actual thing, an actual policy you're supposed to do when you stop somebody, or if you stop somebody and you think they don't know it's a police car. It was taught to me day one. We had to have the uniform on, throw your hat on, direct the person, let them know specifically that the police are directing you over. Otherwise, you have to assume they don't know you're the police. I didn't see that here. All we could see was from the dash cam, the chase. And I'm going to coin a frame. I'm going to coin a term, and I'm going to get a sound to match. LMV. Every time it happens, we're going to call it an LMV. And all of you officers out there, we're going to call you out for being lunch money victims. I don't understand. After a chase, you have a guy on a bike that's standing there with his hands looking at you, and you are in a felony stop position with your firearm out, running with your hand on or near the trigger, and then you kick him in the chest with your gun out. Hold on, I don't know. Come on, officers. Is there anything wrong with all of that?
Yes.
There's a lot of things that can go wrong with that. Now,
everything is wrong.
His job cleared him. I got hey, that's your job and it cleared you. You kept your job. You're able to feed your family. But I'm telling you, if I'm your supervisor, you got some problems. First of all, it's all wrong. I understand we get to the civil portion and the police officer and his civil actions, but that doesn't apply when you don't follow rules and regulations and policy. I think we forget that. It's a police officer. We understand everything. We think everything they do should be within policy. All of this was not. I didn't see any when I looked at this one. That's why I wanted to use this one. It was all wrong. I've done thousands. I think I have 7,000 tickets in my garage still that I issued. Listen, I've never kicked anybody in the chest. Guys, I got two hands. I haven't had my gun out of the holster this many times. That is a way that you gain compliance is the problem. There's so many levels to gain compliance before that is so wrong to come out of your car with your hand on your gun with somebody you're chasing for a vehicle in traffic. So, my opinion of that's all wrong. So how he could have gotten away with this or promoted that's an issue for the job. I mean, if there are other things here we don't know about, but that's an issue for the job. For me, that it's all wrong. He only got that little bit of money. He should have got more, because that is all wrong, and we need to do better.
All right, well said, D. Well said. I agree with everything you said. And Mr. Quick, your comments, please.
Okay, so right off the gate, someone was asking about the utilization of a siren and what Oregon law stipulates. So I looked that up. Oregon State 820.320. Now notice how this is worded. Illegal operation of emergency vehicle or ambulance. And also where it talks about what circumstances that you can operate in exempt or emergency mode, it stipulates, of course, that you have to have visual, i.e. lights, but it also stipulates, in addition to any required visual signal, the driver of an emergency vehicle or ambulance must make use of an audible signal meeting the requirements under ORS 820-370. So that's cut and dry right there.
Yeah.
That's cut and dry right there. Now, as to this scenario, the violation that he had was careless and reckless. I think all of us know that when you're evaluating if you're going to initiate, continue with chase, you have to weigh it against the prohibitive risk of life for other people on the road, which is primarily the road conditions, the traffic conditions, number of cars, the danger just in driving in that mode, and the severity of the crime, of which all of this was low level severity of the crime. All of us have done a felony stop. You do not make an approach on a suspect when you feel like it's a potential deadly risk on a felony stop until after you have gotten them stopped and you are announcing instructions and they are beginning complying. When you get out the car and go around like he did, that's not him thinking that he's dealing with a potentially deadly threat. That's him not controlling his emotions in that situation.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
at that point in time, it's game over. Now, this happened in 2016. We don't know how much longer after that he got promoted to captain. We don't know whether or not he faced any discipline internally. We know he was not criminally charged and had not faced any discipline that they made public. But at the end of the day, I can't find anything right about it, period, from the state in regards to how they pursued it, contrary to their own law that's on the books.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to their own law. And we don't even know where the lights were, because most of the time those unmarked cars got really dark tint, and sometimes they mount the lights inside the windshield or the rear shield so that people don't know until they right on it. And this guy's on a motorcycle. He's driving that fast. The last thing he's doing is paying attention to his mirrors and looking behind him. Am I right or wrong, riders?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Soapbox.
There you go. And well said, Will. And I saw Donald's hand go up.
Yeah, my hand will drop after a while. I'm still like the host, so it'll go up, but it'll drop because I'm supposed to have control of this thing. But anyway, my thing was that did I hear them say that the officer he had to actually pay civil penalty?
Yes.
It was a part of it.
50,000.
How much?
I think they said 50,000.
And listen, that'll make a difference.
Yeah.
That should make a difference. But then this guy, even after all of that, this guy got promoted. I'm just like, yo, how did that happen?
Allow me to interject here real quick. It won't make a difference because you saw the way seemingly the agency rallied around him. I guarantee everybody in that department chipped in to pay for that.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay.
That would have been everyone except for me. I wouldn't have chipped in. If I know you've done something wrong, I'm not chipping in to help you. And I'll say it at roll call. If we had 30 people stand at roll call, I'd say it at roll call. I'm not chipping in to help if you did something wrong. And the thing that was really interesting to me was everything about this was personal for this cop. After the guy was coming to a complete stop, he rolls up, knocks him off the motorcycle. That a 2015 Aprilia, or it happened in 2016. I'm assuming the bike was relatively new. They cost in excess of 30 grand. And it's an Italian motorcycle. Everything on it costs a lot of money to repair. Also, the Mille R's, 1,000cc motorcycles, race bikes, very, very fast. He wasn't trying to outrun the cop. He was just riding like he normally rides, which is a little on the wild side. Again, I was a rider. Some of his habits probably mirrored some of mine. But there's like a rule among cyclists, motorcyclists. If you're gonna get in it to run from the cops, you stay in it all the way home. You don't stop at a traffic light and slow down and stop for the cop. He had no idea that officer was behind him. The officer took it personally. Dee spoke about getting out of the car, doing a felony stop, and I looked where his gun was. When he raised his foot, his gun was pointed above the guy's head down the street. And if his finger would have hit the trigger at that point, no telling who he would have hurt or killed. But there's no reason for him to literally assault the guy while he was still on the motorcycle and then assault him again once he's off of it with his hands up. And I think Rich spoke about brake fade. Brake fade occurs when you are hard on your brakes, often in a very short span of time. And what happens is your brake rotors and your calipers both get hot, and because of the heat, they don't stop as efficiently anymore. He wasn't using his brakes at all. He wasn't using his brakes when he was following the guy. So there was no brake fade. He was lying. And he tried to use his car and his gun as tools of compliance, which I've spoke of before. A gun is not a tool of compliance. It's only to act against someone that is using deadly physical force or the threat thereof against an officer or someone else. And none of that was occurring. So, yeah. But anyone else have any thoughts on it?
You got JT.
JT, there you go, sir.
Yeah, the cop was 100%, 110%. I'm gonna give him 110% wrong. First of all, that car he was driving could have been a fire vehicle. Some of them don't have sirens. And if I don't know that's a cop behind me, I'm just gonna try to get out of his way. But he sued him and he got $180,000. That's why he didn't want to have him arrested for what he did. And the village, county, whatever he was working for, definitely wasn't going to arrest him. He was one of the good old boys, you know. But if that had been Donald Butler as the cop, he would have been into ministry a lot earlier. Because that's the way it is. I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah. 180,000 make me shut the fuck up. You know?
Yeah.
180,000 shit. I didn't see nothing. Thanks for the check. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that they didn't cover him. They didn't cover him as far as the civil liabilities went, but they kept him on the job and then promoted him later. That part is really, really kind of left of center to me. But you know, I guess that's how they do it on their department. So
they probably promoted him to keep his ass off the street so they won't have to pay out another 180,000. He behind the desk, he can't run over nobody.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, Derek, I was looking at saying I'm listening to JT. Lights for emergency vehicles are different in different states too.
Yeah.
So we got to keep that in mind. And I'm sure they make a distinction with police and fire in the different states. But the law that Will spoke about said emergency vehicle. So that includes the firemen.
Right.
It includes an ambulance as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they gotta have the siren with the lights, audio with the visual. So they were out of compliance as far as the state was concerned. So he ain't have any excuses. And I've rode motorcycles before too. And the motorcycle, he said he did see the car behind him, but he didn't know that it was a police vehicle. When you're riding a motorcycle, you don't pay close attention to details. You just know your surrounding. You know there's someone behind you or someone's keeping up with you because you're doing quick checks, and you're moving. It's not like you're sitting there looking back saying, what's the license plate on this thing? Oh, he has lights on. No, you don't have time for all that when you're at 100 miles per hour. You know?
Right.
And like Derek said, this was all personal. It was personal, first of all, because he passed them. That's the first thing. So police don't like you pass them even when they're doing the speed limit. You know, so he was upset about that. Then he's watching them go in and out and around. And I'm pretty much like Derek. This guy was not trying to get away. This guy was riding.
Right.
He was riding. He was not trying to get away. That's it for me. Wait a minute. Eric Jones says the promotion was to cover the $50,000.
You can make that now.
Listen, um, Richard Bowden said, interesting stop. Why don't you man up and say the cop was wrong? It's cops like you that make the public hate cops. I want to know who was that directed to. I responded to it to find out who that directed to because I don't think anyone here supported that action at all.
Right.
At least I didn't hear it. I didn't hear that. So that's why I want to know who that statement for and where we're coming from with that statement because I still didn't hear anyone support the actions of that police officer. Go ahead. I'm sorry,
Jim.
Derek.
Jim, yeah.
I'll assume that individual that is saying the department, not anyone on this panel.
Okay.
Well, that may be, but I just wanted to hear him. I just want to see a statement about who was that too, because as a panel, as all of us, as law enforcement, retired law enforcement, even civilians, couldn't understand that taking place.
No, and we all said it was wrong. So, but all right, Mr. D, you have another video for us.
Yes, sir. Now we're going to see another stop, but we're going to actually see the end of this next stop. Let's take a look. I don't want to say too much.
Sometimes people might just have opposite perspectives on things that aren't informed by some sort of foreign power.
Stay in the cars. Traffic 6-6, shots fired. Traffic 6-6, shots fired. Trout River, Limb Turner. Traffic 6-6, it's going to be Trout River Rebot. Trout River Rebot. I'm hit in my foot. Bravo Mike, he's got a rifle on gun. I'm retreating back. Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get fucking back, you dumb shit! Where is he? It's a Bravo Mike long gun. I'm holding this corner. He's going to be northwest. Traffic 6-6, his vehicle stopped behind mine. Or in front of mine. He's possibly shot. He's possibly going to be heading away from the intersection of Rebalt and Trout, down Rebalt. Hey! It's going to be over there.
You want me to stay with you or what?
Stay with me. We'll start this corner right here. He's going to be in this area.
Sometimes people might just have opposite perspectives on things that aren't informed by some sort of foreign power.
Stay in the cars. Traffic 6-6, shots fired. Traffic 6-6, shots fired. Trout River, Limb Turner. Traffic 6-6, it's going to be Trout River Rebalt. Charles River Rebot. I'm hit in my foot. Bravo Mike. He's got a rifle on gun. I'm retreating back. Get back! Get back! Get back! Get back! Get fucking back, you dumb shit! Where is he? It's a Bravo Mike long gun. I'm holding this corner. He's gonna be northwest. Traffic 66, his vehicle stopped behind mine, or in front of mine. He's possibly shot. He's possibly going to be heading away from the intersection of Ribault and Trout, down Ribault. It's gonna be over there.
You want me to stay with you or what?
Stay with me. We'll start this corner right here. He's gonna be in this area.
All right, we can stop it right there.
Was he shot?
Yes.
I mean, because I see he didn't get out the car, but I didn't.
I wanted to pulled the body out. They did. He did get shot in the car.
He survived?
I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't think so either.
Where's Derek? We lost Derek?
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, the boy. Where's the boss?
All right. Well, I'm here. We'll get Derek back on here. I see we got. Were you first, D? D and Will? Yeah, D and Will.
Yeah, I just wanted to give it some context because I watched it a few times. Just originally, he got out and shot a handgun. It looked like it was a Glock. He emptied the Glock. As the officer returned fire, hitting him while he was hit. Then he grabbed the shoulder weapon. It looked like an AR type. I couldn't tell because the door was in the way. And then the officer shot in the foot, was able to still engage, and incapacitated him with his firearm. Just wanted to give a little perspective as far as that's concerned. The other thing was, I don't know if anybody noticed, there were 10 cars that went by. John Q. Public, that's people watching. I know this is why a lot of police officers are weird when you see the lights. You don't know what's going on. This guy has a long gun. Since I have long guns, let me tell you something. It can hit something up to a mile or two away. You're thinking, let me see, let me ride by, let me. We thought it was funny what the cop was saying, but that's the way you feel. When I first came on, you got to understand that cop is still responsible for you. And he's got to get you out of the line of fire. That's why he's yelling at you. He might curse at you. He's calling you funny names. He's got to do whatever. They don't say be nice. What was that in Lean On Me? They didn't tell me to be nice about it. His job is to protect you. And I don't want to say you're dumb, but you're not so smart or walking toward. You don't know where the threat is. You just are used to I want to see what's up. I know. He knows where the threat is. He really knows where the threat is because he's addressing the threat, and he ended up neutralizing the threat. So I just wanted to say those are two things that I saw. Just for John Q. Public, don't put yourself in the middle of something like this. A 223 round, a 5.67 round. You're not walking away from that. It's taking something out the back that you need. Okay, I'm saying that to say you want to stay as far away I said a mile or two. That round can travel. So come to the window, get out of the window, get down, um, be as safe as you can till the shooting stops and they tell you it's okay to come out. A lot of people want to look and they end up getting themselves caught up. And at the time you say, well, they should have known, they should have told me. Well, they're trying to tell you with the lights, with the siren, with the screaming. And we know, we've all been out there, you just don't want to listen. I just want to see what's going on. And you end up getting yourself in the middle of something that could cost you later on. That's all I had.
All right. I see Derek is back, but Derek, I'm gonna let's finish this right here. You take right on over.
All right.
Will, you go ahead. You're up, Will.
The recognition of the threat, that this is a textbook example of split-second recognition and action. Now, unfortunately, that's a terminology that is overused and utilized to dismiss inappropriate response in a lot of scenarios, but this is one of those cases where this isn't that. And as far as the driver of that car, he's the grand prize winner and playing stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So
Oh, all right. Before I turn it over to Jim and back to Derek's hand, Richard Ballard said the first person who spoke, that was you, Jim. First person who spoke said it was an interesting stop. He jumped on the bandwagon after others condemned the cop. That cop was lucky. I know special ops personnel who would have disarmed that cop. So that was for you, Jim.
What did he say exactly? I lost the trend of thought there.
He said that the first person who spoke said it was an interesting stop. He jumped on the bandwagon after others condemned the cop. In other words, he was saying you wasn't really condemning the cop until we started condemning the cop.
I think you better check that out again, because there was not 1 ounce of truth in what he just said. No, I was the first one to condemn the cop and the department. I don't know. He's listening to something else, or maybe because I'm white. Just threw that out there, folks. Don't take it personal.
Jim, he just misunderstood when you said that was one of the reasons why roll call was started. Because
that's correct.
I think that's what he misunderstood. That's what he misunderstood. I'm sorry.
All right. I'll give him that.
I got you, Derek. I got you.
But anyway, on this particular case, if I may, all I noticed this. Thank God that cop didn't approach that car. Think about it. I mean, this guy was ready. He was ready. Thank God he didn't approach. I mean, believe it or not, he was lucky the guy opened fire when he did. You know? Anyway, that's all.
I'm going to go with Will on this one. That was great police work. I mean, that cop did some. I mean, he got out of the line of fire. He got hit, but he got out of the line of fire. He got covered. I thought he did. I thought that was good police work. Real good police work. Until Derek gets set up, let me go with you, Rich. Jim, did you finish saying what you had to say, Jim? You finished? Rich, you go ahead.
Yeah, I want to agree with you on that. That cop did a great job. He handled the situation well. He got on the radio. He wasn't screaming. He's very confident sounding after being hit. You know, a lot of times police officers get hit and then the high pitched voice and out of breath, and sometimes you can't understand what they're saying. This guy, very well done, got out of the line of fire. He assumed the suspect was on foot heading a certain way, even though the suspect never left the car because he was, incapacitated by the bullets. But I just think he did a fantastic job. He tried to keep people safe. It was very well done. And I think it was flawless. I can't find anything wrong with what the officer did. And he eliminated the threat. Great job.
And he got shot in the foot because he was hauling ass.
Boy, that could happen though. With all those shots fired, I mean, that could happen. But he didn't get shot out of stupidity.
Yeah, exactly.
Derek is back in your hands, Derek.
All right. Yeah, that was interesting. The interesting thing to me is that we don't know what the call originally was. Like, we don't know whether he suspected this guy of having a gun and followed him because of it. But He was Johnny on the spot. He was sharp. He was prepared, and he even kept a cool demeanor after being shot in the foot.
Yes.
But he was still professional over the radio. You know, he obviously cursed at the people that were in the cars nearby, but he was trying to keep them safe, and he kept a cool head under fire. He did his job. So kudos to him, and I'm glad his family is glad that he handled things the way he did. Otherwise, they may not have him anymore. Yeah. And D.
Yeah, just to add a little context, I didn't want to interrupt you, but that was the culmination of a traffic stop. We all know how people, since they're near home, the mindset is let me drive home because somehow that's going to alleviate or mess with the traffic stop. And that's what happened in this case. He was near his home and he pulled into the driveway and the officer pulled in behind him just to make a stop. And we see how these things go. A little context so you can understand how I know sometimes officers can be heightened because this is what happens. And you don't get a chance to second guess yourself once the guy opens up with a automatic weapon on you. He took one in. Again, great police work. I don't see how he could have done anything better other than not get shot in the foot, but that wasn't on him. Everything else he did, addressing the threat, even when he was sitting there on the floor, he's giving orders. His looks like his foot gave out on him, and he's sitting there. He's still addressing the threat and giving orders. He's telling everybody where to go. He's directing everybody what to do. It was a great stop, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for the gentleman out there in the comments that said, you know, people in the service with him would have disarmed the guy. The guy was never close enough to him to disarm him.
Well, that was actually for the first video, not for the second video.
Oh, okay, got you. For the first video, okay.
Yeah, that was the first video, not the second video.
Right. Yeah, that first guy definitely could have been disarmed.
Yeah.
he probably should have been disarmed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yes. All right. Anyone else with any comments on that video? All right. If not, then D, if you could move us to the next one.
All right, we're gonna stay with our theme and further go with our lunch money victim theme. Now, this next one takes us to Miami, Florida, and where it starts, I'm gonna just narrate a little bit before I start it, just to give everybody perspective, so we don't have to watch it again. There's a police car that we see sort of left to center of the screen, and then there's a complainant sitting in front of him. We're going to see the complainant go to the police car. Now the police officer is still sitting there, and we'll see what happens after that.
A Miami police officer is relieved of duty while an internal affairs investigation is underway.
That investigation stems from the assault call that happened last Sunday. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Trina Robinson.
And I'm Juan Strader. Good evening to you. Nico Clemens is live at Miami Police Headquarters tonight with video of that incident you'll see only on NBC6.
You too, the video is intense and it's violent. So you'll see several people on bikes, regular bicycles, motorized bikes. They surround a man, then attack him in front of a Miami police officer's car. Then you'll see in the video, or what you won't see, is that officer get out the car to help the man until the assault is over. You know, we have so many questions after watching this video, but so does the department.
A brutal assault. A Miami police officer is off the job after this violent attack outside the night concert hall on Biscayne Boulevard Sunday night. In the video, a man parks in front of a Miami police officer's car, gets out, and appears to go over and say something to another person on a bike. The man then walks to the driver's side of the officer's car and seems to have a conversation with the officer in the car. Seconds later, more people on bikes show up and the man walks back to his car. The tree is blocking the camera's view, but that's when the encounter between the man and people on bikes appears to turn violent. The police officer does not get out the car.
He's destroying the car with rocks.
The chaos escalated.
Oh, wow.
Someone jumps on the man's car and smashes the windshield.
Never got out.
Then you see the assault. Several people kick the man while he's on the ground. Then someone throws a bike on top of him. The officer is still in their car, but it seems other officers run over to break up the attack after police say they were investigating a call of a bicyclist versus motorist dispute involving an assault. Seconds later, the officer who was sitting in their car gets out and walks over to the fight. Miami Police says its department initiated an internal affairs investigation into this incident and has relieved the officer of duty until they learn the outcome of the investigation. The police chief said in a statement, "The members of the Miami Police Department understand and take great pride in upholding their responsibility to protect and serve our community. We must act for the betterment of our community. I will share the results of the investigation once it has been completed." Growing questions surrounding an officer's lack of action during a vicious attack.
We will keep an eye out for the results of that internal investigation. A couple of things. Police have not identified who everyone involved was. They also didn't arrest anyone after that assault. We did reach out to the police union several times tonight to get a comment from them, a statement. Still waiting to hear back from them. In Miami, Nico Clemens, NBC6 News.
All right. Do we have any, there we go, Mr. D, please.
All right. Our segment of lunch money victim. This is what's going to happen. We're giving lunch money victims guns and supposed authority. So then we have to hold them responsible. We know the wilding that goes on. It goes on here in the city I'm in now, in New York when I'm back home. That's what happens. You got bands of not just bicycles, but motorcycles. Last weekend, I saw four-wheel drive vehicles, a band. I saw 4 different bands. I saw a band of ATVs, which were different than the four-wheelers. So this is what people are doing. They're riding down. They're riding dirty. What that means is no, Jerry, no plates. They're illegal. That's what riding dirty means. And they're riding down the street, and how can I say, law enforcement, because it might be 100 people, so it's going to be impossible, especially with some of the scooters and the bikes, to catch any. So they're kind of trying to corral them and just keep them from affecting traffic as best they can. That's what I see as far as the enforcement is concerned. But so you don't want to involve these people. You don't want to get involved. They may go ride by your car. You don't want to say anything. It's too many of them, and they can't be tracked. You might be able to find 1 or 2, but with 100 people, and a lot of them are children. They're kids, and they're emboldened by the group. Those of us that have ridden bikes know you get emboldened when there's a group around you. You feel like, this is great, this is wonderful, and this is what happens. That police officer had a duty to act immediately. I'm sure if that police officer would have you didn't have to have a black belt in anything. You didn't have to have your gun in your hand. If you would have gotten out of that car, you could have avoided that. That's why when I'm so hard on the lunch money victims, because you don't even have a command presence, because you're sitting in a car and they actually threw a bike on this gentleman, and you didn't get out of the car then. You didn't get out of the car when the other officers were throwing bodies, were pulling people off. It was another minute or so after that you finally said, you know what? This uniform I'm wearing, maybe I should get out and do something. That's what's going to happen when we elect, when we swear in, when we allow lunch money victims to run things. These are the responses. They're not going to be any. And you're going to be left on your own. I'm done.
Excellent. Well said. Well said, sir. And up next we have Will. Will, please.
The officer's lack of response pretty much speaks for itself. But the car that he was in, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't the lights activated? The emergency lights were on?
Yes.
So the thing that jumps out to me is these individuals would launch such a violent attack in front of the officer with the emergency lights on, with complete disregard. And it's daylight, so I can't imagine they didn't know that he was in the car as well. So to me, this group, however it winds up shaking out, if they are, for lack of better terms or for lack of inflammatory terms, some sort of organized group, because I've seen the riders that you all talk about, they actually will snarl traffic, whether on bicycles or motorcycles or four-wheelers. If they are an organized group and they operate with that kind of reckless abandon, to be in front of the police officer, because apparently it must have been close to the department, because the number of officers that came out, you didn't see any other cars pull up, so they ran out of a building. So not only in front of the officer with the lights on, but presumably in front of at least the precinct or someplace where there were officers congregated. There's a much deeper problem with that action beyond just the officer's response. Like I said, that speaks for itself. Or lack of response, I should say.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I did see another white SUV pull into the frame, and I thought officers got out of that. But one piece to it is the guy actually pulled up his car, jumped out of the car, and approached the cyclist while the officer was there. And after he approached the cyclist, I'm assuming he was woofing at this guy in some fashion. Then he goes around to the officer's door and says whatever he says to the officer. And I think after he got funky with the first guy on the bike, the other ones took note, and it looked like they were waiting for him when he got through talking to the officer. The officer did nothing. The first thing I'm thinking when they said there's an internal investigation, what investigation? What needs to be investigated when on camera your officer sits in a car and watches a guy get gang assaulted? I mean, the guy's getting kicked in the head, he's getting punched, he got a bike thrown on him, all of it's on camera. There is no need for an investigation. If one of us did, or if this group jumped someone, there wouldn't be an investigation, we'd be arrested. What's the problem with the officer being held accountable immediately? There shouldn't even be an investigation. He should be fired. He should be fired, and if there's any way to charge him, which I'm not saying there is, but he should at the very least be fired because he derelicted. He was in dereliction of his duties. No, no.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Derek. And I'm sitting there saying, you're sitting in your car watching this go on, and then when everyone else gets there, there is no arrest.
Right.
I'm kind of shook at what was taking place here. Is that like common behavior? Is that something that normally happens? But as a police officer, if you're afraid, then you don't need to be on the job. You don't need to be there because it's your job to step out in emergencies like that. So I'm with Derek. And what are you investigating? Whether he did it or he didn't do it? What are you looking for in this investigation?
What kind of sandwich he was eating for lunch? They kept his ass in the car when all hell is breaking loose.
All right.
And for the pedestrians, since we have pedestrians listening to us and watching us, there's no need to interact with a crowd that's like that already. Something happened before that time that made you angry, to make you stop and speak to that police officer. Something happened already. Let the cops handle this, but don't you get out there and then start wolfing off because you think the police have your back. Because you may have one just like that police officer that's like, listen, you the one that was barking. I'm not gonna get bit because you barked. So you have to be. There's some police officers like D said. What is that you have on that D? The LM
money victim,
LMVs.
Yeah. And what he means by that was that some police officers were victims as kids, which means that they were the ones that were being bullied, but now they got on this Superman uniform, they've gained some muscles, you know. So you got to be careful about that one. That's all I had to say about it. Marcus says he could do a whole lot worse and not be fired. They were ready to beat him down too. What was he supposed to? What was he supposed to do? Start shooting and lighten us? Okay, good question, Marcus. Good question. I think D already answered it.
There you go.
But
Have your hand up.
yep, go ahead, D. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm gonna answer that for you. Just in my experience as a police officer, there are times where you're not really concerned with the numbers. There's times I go out there and there's things are just going to happen. Let me. Where's Dave? That day, my ass just might have to get kicked, but it's my job that day for my ass to get kicked. Yeah, I know that's not a mindset that's comfortable for a lot of people, but that's the job we put our hands up and we swore to. I'm going to have to get out there and use my noodle, my hands, and figure out how to keep that guy safe. Now, me, I know everybody in here that know Will's got his hand up. He was going to say it. I know Rich is down there. I know I'm going to knock the biggest one out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna knock the biggest one out. The rest of them are gonna realize this might not be what I want. Mm-hmm. But I gotta do something. I can't sit in my car and allow this to occur. I got a stick, right? We used to carry nightsticks, expandable batons, pepper spray, a whole lot of things I could do. And I only have to do, I know, I've been doing this 32 years. I only got to get one and get them good. Then the rest of them are they're going to realize that, you know, maybe not. But I can't let that guy get beat up. I'm not going to try to beat up the whole crowd. I'm not Jackie Chan, not by any stretch, but I can't let that happen. Whatever I have to do. I used to come to this job and say, you know, one of these days I'm going to get fired. Y'all going to ask me to do something that I can't do, but I'm going to get fired. When I used to do private security, there's a day you're going to have to fire me because we're not doing that to get you hurt. That's the way you do your job. Your job is not to keep your job. What's wrong with us? Your job is not to be a big tough guy. That's not your job. Your job is to do your job. Protect, come on, and serve. I got to protect that guy and serve this community. Worrying about what's going to happen to me, I want to get home to my family, but those worries coming afterwards, I got to protect and serve. So I can't sit in my car. I can't stand there and allow a member of society that I'm supposed to protect and serve to get themselves beat up. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to figure it out. That's why they gave me a gun. That's why they taught me how to use these. That's why they taught me how to use this and this. I got to figure it out. There's no easy answer. I know we want the easy answer. Well, you do a number 2738 and we'll make it happen. It don't work like that. You got to get out. And all of us were in situations, we can talk war stories, where I was in a couple bar fights, 50 people fighting. And I walked in, I go, I got to do something. I can't sit outside and go, well, I'm going to wait until Don and Will get here. I'm going to wait. Right. You guys are going to show what you're doing. You should be throwing joints, right? Am I right? So
be in there.
You have to figure out how to do something. And in answer to that question, that's why you're trained properly. There's a lot of things we may not even tell you. What we know when there's a crowd, how I got to chill that crowd till my help comes. Who I got to hold on to in a nice, secure hold until Will and Rich and Jim get there. Well, I'm gonna have to go back and explain to Jim, but anyway, I'm gonna figure that out. You got to figure it out. You got to use your noodle. That's it. I'm sorry. I'm passionate about that. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I fully understand and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And Will, please.
Just like Dee said, a lot of situations we don't get the luxury of thinking about our own personal safety first. But as I observed the beginning of this, I saw what appears to be two opportunities for the officer to recognize something's not right. The first exchange between the driver and that first biker that was kind of one-on-one, And then when the driver came around to the officer's side, and we don't have the luxury of knowing exactly what was said, but clearly there was a concern. And at that point in time, your skills of observation, you could have de-escalated that before it ever got started by simply saying, listen, I see these other kids are coming up, they get close to your car, you stay here with me. And that was the point that I couldn't understand. Y'all probably heard me use this terminology before, and I'll probably use it a lot because it seems to be always applicable. My daddy always said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And to me, there seemed to be enough opportunities for the officers to recognize, if I protect this one man from this group, then I don't have this situation escalate.
Absolutely.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. And James, JT, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree with everything said, definitely. But didn't that guy have a partner? Or was he in the car alone, the cop?
I think alone.
I think it was in by himself. He was by himself.
Well, just like D said, you got to do something. Most of the cars I rode in Hempstead had shotguns. Something about a shotgun being racked make a motherfucker think. Just let somebody let somebody stand behind you with a shotgun and let them rack one in.
Yeah.
Every head turns.
Yeah.
And then when you let one go in the air, on the ground, wherever, just not at somebody, it has a second impact to your ass when you're running. Because you do be running, but you got to do something. You can't sit in the car and wait for backup. Backup could have had an accident. Now you still out there with your thumb up your ass, you know. You got to do something, you know. And D got the right thing. I don't know if I pick on the biggest motherfucker though, but I knock a little motherfucker out. The little motherfucker is out. Out. You know?
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
There we go. And I don't know if the rest of us are paying attention, but I'm looking at Kyle's face when JT is saying some of the things he's saying. Very, very interesting.
Oh, Kyle is here. Hi, Kyle.
And for those of us that are watching that don't know who Kyle is an attorney. She was the district attorney. So she definitely knows the law probably better than everyone here combined. The first sign or the first opportunity that the officer had to do something was when the guy pulled up in the car on the wrong side of the road. He wasn't even in the right lanes. He pulled up on the wrong side of the road. He got out, approached the cyclist. The first thing you're supposed to do when you have antagonistic parties is separate the parties. You can't argue if you're not next to each other. The officer should have got out of the car. He should have told the guy, get back in your car and get out of here. And once the guy got back in his car and drove away, you no longer have a problem. And now if the people would have converged before he could get back in his car, then you have the guy stand behind you and you just don't let him get to you. You just don't let them get to him. But separate the parties. That's the easiest way to do things. Keep them apart and they can't do anything to each other if they're not right next to each other. And that's it. Yes, Doc.
Yeah, man, I forgot what I was gonna say. Now I feel like y'all. But anyway, let me go to Richard Bowden's statement. First of all, Isabel says, why not call for backup once the incident started? Okay. We don't know if that happened or didn't happen.
Right.
I don't know. But Richard Bowden says cops have no constitutional duty to protect and serve. Then it goes on and says, from a 1981 court ruling, town of Castle Rock, County versus Gonzalez. And I guess he's talking about United States Constitution. I guess, but you do have a right to protect and serve in your individual jurisdictions. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Jim got his hand up there. Derek.
I've dealt with this issue before, and I think what they mean to say is that there is no criminal section of constitutional law that requires an officer to take action. So that whole scenario that we just watched, that officer cannot be criminally charged for not doing what he was supposed to do. He should be fired. And he could be sued, but there's no criminal action. I think that's what the person was referring to.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for that assistance, because in my own mind, I'm like, well, you swore to an oath when you took the job. All right. So at least to that jurisdiction, you have an obligation.
Right.
You know, so
Well, not only
Right
that,
on the
Rev,
fucking car to protect and serve. Come on.
Department policy would dictate he has to act.
Bingo. And that's what I was going to get to after Mark.
Policy and procedure.
Yeah.
He said what you said, Jim. He says what you said, exactly what you said. He respond. He asked the question, but he said he was what you said, Jim. He's agreeing with you.
I think we're all kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
There is a responsibility, but is it a constitutional responsibility? No. You know, the responsibility is from the local department you're in, the policy and procedures, the oath you take, and all of that stuff.
Right. All right. Mark Matthews, what do you have, sir?
Yeah, so, certain states allow the officers who are off duty to take their cars. I don't know if this was involved in that or not, but it's interesting because you could be off duty going to the store and your mind is, I got to pick up eggs and how much that's going to cost me out of my check. And then all of a sudden, chaos in front of you. So I'm not justifying his actions or anything else, but I'm just saying that's the downfall sometimes of having that perk of taking your car because you're not in uniform, you're in your regular clothes, but you're in a marked police car, and shit finds you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an unfortunate thing sometimes. But it doesn't directly have anything to do with this case because I don't know if the guy was on duty or off duty, but he's still responsible to do something. I'm assuming he did call for backup. So whoever asked that question, I'm sure that was done. It's just a matter of this guy was waiting for backup before he actually took action.
Yeah. He or she, I couldn't tell whether it was a male or a female, but the person did appear to be in uniform when they got out of the car finally, and they waited until the other officers were ass deep in a fight. They didn't get out as soon as the officers got there, so it wasn't like the officers was going to help him. He waited until they were ass deep to help them. And and on NYPD, there is a department charge called malfeasance. And if you are found to be guilty of malfeasance, you are fired. Period. That is the punishment for malfeasance, firing. So if your partners are there helping or fighting and you're not helping, and it can be proven that you didn't do what you were supposed to do, you can be fired for malfeasance. So you may not get charged with the assault. There may not be any charges levied against you, but you'll be fired from the job.
But you won't be arrested.
No, it's not, you haven't committed a crime, but departmentally, you're gone. Yep. And next up, we have Will.
No, you got me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Don. There you go.
Let me just say this. Marcus says lame excuse, off duty in a marked car. You're on salary, fool. Let me see. But I'm gonna jump in there, Marcus, because that's where I was going with it as well. When you're in a marked vehicle, you take the responsibility of being on duty. The comparison I looked at it in New York is Long Island Railroad gives police passes, and when you get on there and the conductor knows that you're a off-duty police officer, whatever, they expect you to help if something breaks out. So you take on that responsibility by using your pass to go out to the city to go out to Long Island. You take on that responsibility, and so to drive that car, you're taking on a responsibility as well. Or if you're not taking on, it's given to you by the department that you will take action if something happens here. That's why a lot of times they would have you park in front of a 7-Eleven, park in front of a mansion where they're having millionaires parties and stuff like that. That happens on Long Island. There's a police department right on Long Island where the police officers use their cars to park at these mansions for protection. I'm done. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have Mark raise his hand, Derek.
Okay,
that, like I said, I started it off as I'm not making an excuse. That's just the hazard of that perk, which was what I was saying. So, Marcus, you need to listen a little bit better.
All right. Will?
I want to circle back to the comment that was made in reference to the Supreme Court ruling on that case involving Gonzalez and Castle Rock. And the reason why I want to circle back to that is because somebody in our audience reading that comment and they don't have a context to go with it. So I actually looked up the case, and I'm going to try to read quickly but clearly. This was a divorce proceeding, and the complainant had gotten a protective order against her husband. He violated and went and got their 4 kids. She reported it at 5:15 on that day, but at this point in time, she didn't know where the kids were. And the protective order also covered them as well. And by the time the officers actually located where he was, he had called his wife, told her where he was, and then he arrived at the police department and was confronted by officers, and I guess he had a deadly weapon. He was shot and killed. Unfortunately, he had also killed all 3 girls.
Ooh.
So originally, the lower courts had ruled that the officers had not failed in their duty because she filed for a judgment basically that they failed to do their duty. I think we all know when it comes to restraining orders, you have to have a violation of the restraining order. And then, okay, if you got a violation, you got probable cause, you get a warrant, you still have to find that person. A restraining order is a piece of paper. And unless you have the ability to either have personal security or you're good enough with your own security, those are the things that are standing in between you and the person that's targeted in that restraining order. So I understand why the courts had the rule in the way they did. It's very unfortunate the way that happened. I'm sure the shock value of those 3 girls losing their life didn't help matters any. But I just wanted to add some context to the comment that that person made.
Okay. Thank you. Listen, Derek, I have to jump in here. We have a good group of panelists on here that don't mind investigating, finding information on the subject that we're speaking about. So let me just say this publicly. I appreciate you guys helping us out with information that we all can find on the web. So thank you so much for helping us out. All right, it's back in yours, Derek.
All right. So we have about 7 minutes left, which means we probably don't have time for another video, but we probably do have time for the Crockett Pocket or a short feel-good video.
You make the call there, boss man.
How long is the feel-good video?
That's it could be as long as you want it to be. Let me see if I can find one really quick.
Okay.
We need to give a love for Cory Booker and what he did on that.
I wish I had a video. I don't have a video.
Absolutely. Mr. Booker stayed up there and filibustered for 25 hours straight. Incredible. Stayed on his feet, speaking. The only time he wasn't speaking is when someone else was answering a question or asking a question. Incredible.
Yeah. Was there a porta potty up there or something?
So let's go with we'll do our feel good video.
Okay.
Is Wayne "The Rock" Johnson
You?
Doing wonderful. Can you do me a favor and just put it in park for me and make sure the doors are unlocked?
I can.
Dwayne Johnson gets pulled over.
Wow, that's crazy.
And let's just say the officer got a free ticket to the gun show.
That's the way you got to do it.
The actor's sharing his recorded interaction with the police outside an XFL stadium, seemingly part of a routine security check.
You?
Doing wonderful. Can you do me a favor and just put it in park for me and make sure the doors are unlocked?
I can.
But Dwayne couldn't resist a golden opportunity to make a dad joke.
I got a lot of guns in this.
Okay.
These kind. There's always room for a cheesy joke. I know. You're welcome. I have an arms day, chest day, neck day.
The action star notes in the caption, "It's a horrible joke, but impeccable timing." He also praises the officers, writing, "All love, gratitude, and respect for our men and women keeping us all safe."
Thought it was a cool moment that I wanted to share.
Jokes aside, it seems like Dwayne's in good spirits just weeks after his mother, Atta Johnson, was involved in a severe car accident.
Whatever it is you do, it always comes down to family and the loved ones that you have. So I'm really blessed.
The Jumanji star shared this photo of the red Cadillac she was driving, the front of the SUV completely crushed. But thankfully, his mom made it out unscathed.
I gotta ask you how your mama is. How's mama?
Thank you. She's doing really good. I appreciate that.
Scary moment.
It was a scary moment. That was 3 a.m. when I get that phone call. And, you know, we know when that phone rings at 3 a.m. and it's a family member, it's not good. So luckily she had about.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad. I'm sure the officer was glad to meet The Rock. I don't know if he knew who he was at first, but if he didn't, I'm sure he figured it out really quickly. But good interaction.
Well, if he didn't, he should have asked Melba and Jerry and Kyle.
Look at that. Melba going to the gun show.
The women knew right away. Hey, that's The Rock.
Are you ladies fans?
Come on, Jerry.
Jerry, you're muted.
Is it just me or have the women been eerily quiet today?
No.
Muted on purpose.
We ever since you could smell what The Rock was cooking.
Okay, y'all see what she's doing with her hair, right? Y'all see what she's doing with her hair.
He's had quite the career for someone that couldn't make it in the NFL. I think him not making it was probably the biggest blessing that ever happened to him. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
All right, was it in my hand now, Derek?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, listen, thank you guys so much for your participation.
Good job, Derek.
Listen, Derek did an awesome job with leading us. And I'm trying to get you guys involved to where so others can lead as well, because people in our audience would love to know your personality and want to know where you coming from with some of this stuff. And Will, you already do podcasts already, so you just be prepared, because I'm telling you right now, it's coming. It's coming. So and I need talkers. I need people who don't mind talking, not afraid to talk, to get up and say what they need to say. I know some people just don't like doing it. They can talk, or they just don't like doing that. Talking about, I see you, Melba. I see you. We already know you can talk. You just don't like to talk. You don't like to. And I know Mark can talk. We all know Mark can talk, don't we?
Yes.
He can sure text.
Listen, thank you guys so much for joining us. Guys on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anybody. Make sure I didn't miss any comments on here. Eva says, yes, of course. My man, The Rock. All right, Eva. Stop doing that over here, because you're gonna make Dave mad. Back to Blue. Cops for Kamala. Law and Order 2024. See Jim throwing it up. I don't know what Dave is doing over there, but Dave is giving us a picture of the ceiling, I guess. I don't know.
He must be in a barn or something.
Dave, you got Karen Caffey over here, and I'm sure Mother Ruth Caffey is on here. You know, she's 96 and a half years old. She want to see her Dave, you
Ain't
know.
gonna
But thank you guys so much for joining us again. Derek, thank you for leading us. Um, um, Taking time out. Pray for Cheech. Pray for the names that CJ mentioned. Pray for all of our loved ones and family members. Rich, your wife doing okay? I see she's online, but she doing fine.
Yeah, she's doing better.
Good. Praying for your wife, kids,
Thank
and
you.
grandkids. We're praying for them. JT, good to see you back with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you had a little scare.
Yes, yes.
But we thank God for covering you and keeping you and allowing you to come back and be with us. All right. I believe that. Oh, let me see. Rich about this. Devil's advocate here. The off-camera officers might have been out of their cars. The group of bicycles probably never looked inside of the police car. The cop should be disciplined. He could have at least gotten on his speaker and told them to stop. That's true. Joe Public has a problem with police departments doing long drawn out investigations. There you go, Derek. In Texas, there's a saying: one riot, one ranger. He's no Texas Ranger. But you're right, Rich, about these long investigations about nothing. You know, just hopefully that the public will forget that there was an incident that took place.
Right.
That's what I think. So listen, keep praying for each other, praying for our police officers. Let me see, let me make sure I didn't miss anybody. Let me see. I'm sorry, Dave. You know you are my man. That's from Eva. I know Dave can hear us. He probably got a nice big stogie over there. All right, listen. That's it. Let us pray. God our Father, we thank you for being God and being God all by yourself. We thank you for every person on this panel. We thank you for those on Facebook Live. We pray to God for the absent part of this panel. And we pray to God for Jamel Stevens and his wife Sharon as they're taking care of their business. We pray to God you will give them all that they need. We pray to God for Cheech and his family. We pray to God for the names that Cheryl Jackson has called out to us today. And we pray to God you will watch over each and every one of us. Keep us from all hurt, harm, and danger. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.